You are listening to Viewpoints from PlaceCloud. Cultural researchers tell stories of places from around the world. For the full multimedia experience and to support the creators you enjoy, visit placecloud.io.
We've turned off Commercial Street onto Wentworth Street, on the side with the Culpeper pub, and soon we can see the entrance to the housing estate. But the homes here are all much more recent than one original feature that remains. The entrance is still marked by an impressive archway, which, we can read, was erected by the 4% Industrial Dwellings Company in 1886. Now, this was a rather unusual housing project set up in the East End of late Victorian London, not least in terms of who it was set up to house. In 1881, following the assassination of the Russian Tsar Alexander II, persecution, in addition to economic hardship, led to a mass exodus of Jews from Eastern Europe. By the time of the First World War, they numbered over 2 million. And while many of them ended up travelling on to America, around 120,000 put down roots here. By 1900, 95% of the residents of Wentworth Street were Jewish. Upon arrival in this part of London, they might be able to find work in the rag trade, but where would they live? Any accommodation they were able to find was likely to be of very poor condition. In fact, in 1884, the United Synagogue had held an inquiry into spiritual destitution in the East End, only to conclude that physical destitution was in fact a much bigger problem. Flower and Dean Street, which is now the path from the arch through the housing estate, was described the year before as, quote, perhaps the foulest and most dangerous street in the whole metropolis. 2 decades later, the 4% Industrial Dwellings Company had built 6 large housing blocks designed to provide the industrial classes with commodious and healthy dwellings at a minimum rate. Each of the 1,500 flats had 2 rooms and their own scullery and balcony, sharing a kitchen and a water closet with their adjacent neighbour. The grey stone buildings of these Victorian high-rise estates may have been less than glamorous, but rents were at least capped at 5 shillings a week, and in sanitary conditions alone, they were a significant improvement for their primarily Jewish inhabitants, as was evident from the fact that the death rate on these estates was only a third of the Whitechapel average. The leadership for this major undertaking, which meant clearing the slums before being able to build better homes, came from a group of philanthropically inclined Jewish bankers, primarily Nathan Mayer Rothschild. And they brought a business mindset to the financing of the enterprise. Although Rothschild bankrolled the initial project personally, for which they were known as Rothschild houses, the broader and longer-term approach was not one of charity, but rather what we would today call social finance. The 4% refers to the moderate yet safe net return of 4% a year that was promised to investors. And this proved a successful formula. Not only did they expand from their first estate here to new projects in Stoke Newington and other parts of London, but the Industrial Dwellings Society, or IDS as it's often known, continues today, still with its Rothschild family connections, to manage over 1,400 properties in London, many of them still in the East End.